Hello everyone. Today we will discuss revolt and rebellion with a particular focus on Sepoy Mutiny that took place in India from 1857 to 1858. The definition of revolt, rebellion, and mutiny. A revolt is an uprising against injustices. A rebellion is a violent action organized by a group of people trying to change the political system of the country. A mutiny is an event where a group of people, particularly soldiers, refuse to obey orders or attempts to take control from people of authority. The Sepoy Mutiny was also known as the Indian Uprising of 1857 and 1858. It was also known as the First War of Indian Independence. In May 1857, mutiny first occurred in the Bengal regiment in the cantonment of Meerut, who were in the service of the East India Company. It later spread to Delhi, Agra, Kanpur, and Lucknow. There were several reasons for the Indians' discontent against British interference in their culture. However, the Sepoy Mutiny occurred with the introduction of the new Enfield rifles. To load these rifles, the sepoys had to bite off the end bit of the lubricated cartridge. Rumors spread out that the cartridges were encased in gelatin stiffened paper and greased with cow or pig's fat. So it was offensive for the Muslims as well as for the Hindus, because for the Muslims the pig's fat was not religious. It was against their religion to have bitten the cartridge that contained pig's fat, and for the Hindus, cows were sacred and they also considered it to be against their religion. Other causes of Indians' discontent included cultural. For example, the Indians were not happy with William Bentinck's Age of Reforms, missionaries' interference in the religious beliefs of the Hindus, Lord Dalhousie's interference in Hindu widows' remarriage, the Hindu Remarriage Act of 1856 was passed, Hindu kingship was fragmented, extension of rights to inheritance to religious converts were not accepted by some Indians. Introduction to Western education was particularly objectionable to the Indian Muslims. And of course, the last Mughal ruler, Bahadur Shah Zafar II, was a weak ruler. The sati practice. In the ancient Hindu tradition, in which a widow sacrifices herself in joining her husband's funeral pyre, it was both a voluntary and a forced practice. Between 1815 and 1818, the number of incidents of sati in Bengal doubled from 378 to 839. Opposition to the practice of sati began by the Christian evangelists such as Carey and Hindu reformers such as Raja Ram Mohan Rai. However, the final decision to stop the sati practice was taken by the Governor General of the East India Company. Lord William Bentinck enacted the Bengal Sati Resolution in 1829. It declared the practice of burning or burying alive of Hindu widows to be punishable by the criminal courts. These were followed up by other legislations that countered violence against Hindu women, including Hindu Widows Remarriage Act of 1856, Female Infanticide Prevention Act 1870, the Age of Consent Act 1891. The political reasons of Indian discontent against the British presence, particularly against the East India Company, included Lord Dalhousie's doctrine of lapse, which meant the annexation policy of the princely states. Lord Dalhousie, the Governor General of the East India Company, introduced the doctrine of lapse. The doctrine of lapse was used to gain control of other independent territories. If a prince had no heir to the throne, President demanded the adoption of a son to succeed him. After 1848, the company refused to recognize these adoptive heirs, and over the course of the next 7 years, they took control of 7 states, causing considerable resentment by the Indian elites. Rebel leader Lakshmibai, the Rani of Jhansi, for instance, was from the newly annexed Jhansi. Other types of interference in aristocratic affairs caused bad feelings also. For example, the company had refused a pension and the dignity title Peshwa to the most prominent leader in the revolt, Nana Sahib, the Maharaja of Bithur, after his adoptive father died in 1851. The other political factors with which the Indians were unhappy under the East India Company included the company annexed Oudh and its capital in Lucknow in 1856, not as a lapsed territory, but on the grounds that the Nawab, the ruler Wajid Ali Shah, had mismanaged his government to such a degree that the whole state was corrupt. It deposed the Nawab and disinherited his son. Local resentment was such that after Delhi, Oudh became the main center of the 1857 and 1858 uprising. Economic exploitation was the main cause of the Indians' discontent against the British East India Company. The company took over the revenue collection Diwani in Bengal and Bihar in 1765 and thereby got the direct administrative control in 1772. At first, it adopted various strategies, including farming out the Diwani or giving land to the local magistrates or tax collectors, zamindars. Permanent revenue settlement came in 1793 when the company created the principle of landed property and clarified the relationship between the state and the cultivator. Finally, this image shows the mutiny, Indian troops during the mutiny. The Hindus and Muslims are standing side by side with their strong spirit of nationalism against the British East India Company. Thank you.